The Clown Punk. Driving home through the shonky side of town, 3 times out of 10 you'll see the town clown, like a basket of washing that got up and walked, towing a dog on a rope. But don't laugh. Every pixel of that man's skin is shot through with indelible ink. As he steps out at the traffic lights, think what he'll look like in 30 years' time. The deflated face and shrunken scalp, still daubed with the sad tattoos of high punk. You kids in the back seat who wince and scream when he slathers his daft mush on the windscreen, remember the clown punk with his dyed brain. Then picture windscreen wipers and let it rain.
Checking out me history. Them tell me what them want to tell me. Bandage up me eye with me own history, blind me to me own identity. Them tell me about 1066 and all that. Them tell me about Dick Whittington and E-Cat, but Toussaint Louverture, you know, them never tell me about that. Toussaint, a slave with vision, Lickback, Napoleon, Battalion, and First Black Republic born. Toussaint, the thorn to the French, Toussaint, the beacon of the Haitian Revolution. Them tell me about the man who discovered the balloon and the cow jump over the moon. Them tell me about the dish, run away with the spoon, but them never tell me about Nanny the Maroon. Nanny, seafar, woman of mountain, dream, fire woman, struggle, hopeful, stream to freedom, river. Them tell me about Lord Nelson and Waterloo, but them never tell me about Shagga the Great Zulu. Them tell me about Columbus and 1492, but what happened to the Carib and the Arawak too? Them tell me about Florence Nightingale and she lamp, and how Robin Hood used to camp. Them tell me old King Cole was a merry old soul, but them never tell me about Mary C. Cole. From Jamaica, she traveled far to the Crimean War. She volunteered to go even when the British said no. She braved the Russian snow, a healing star among the wounded, a yellow sunrise among the dying. Them tell me what them want for tell me, but now I checking out me history. I carving out me identity.
Horse Whisperer. They shouted for me when their horses snorted, when restless hooves traced circles in the earth and shimmering muscles refused the plough. My secret was a spongy tissue, pulled bloody from the mouth of a just-born foal, scented with rosemary, cinnamon, a charm to draw the tender giants to my hands. They shouted for me when their horses reared at burning straw, and eyes revolved in stately heads. I would pull a frog's wishbone, tainted by meat, from a pouch, a new fear to fight the fear of fire, so I could lead the horses like helpless children to safety. I swore I would protect this legacy of whispers, but the tractor came over the fields like a warning. I was the lifeblood no longer. From pulpits I was scorned as demon and witch. Pitchforks drove me from villages and farms. My gifts were the tools of revenge, a foul hex above a stable door, so a trusted stallion could be ridden no more. Then I joined the stampede with others of my kind, to countries far from our trade. Still I miss them, Shire, Clydesdale, Suffolk. The searing breath, glistening veins, steady tread, and the pride, most of all, the pride.
Medusa by Carousel Duffy. A suspicion, a doubt, a jealousy grew in my mind, which turned the hairs on my head to filthy snakes, as though my thoughts hissed and spat on my scalp. My bride's breath, soured, stank in the grey bags of my lungs. I'm foul-mouthed now, foul-tongued, yellow-fanged. There are bullet tears in my eyes. Are you terrified? Be terrified. It's you I love. Perfect man, Greek god, my own. But I know you'll go, betray me, stray from home. So better by far for me if you were stone. I glanced at a buzzing bee. A dull grey pebble fell to the ground. I glanced at a singing bird. A handful of dusty gravel spattered down. I looked at a ginger cat. A house brick shattered a bowl of milk. I looked at a snuffling pig. A boulder rolled in a heap of shit. I stared in the mirror. Love gone bad showed me a gorgon. I stared at a dragon. Fire spewed from the mouth of a mountain. And here you come, with a shield for a heart and a sword for a tongue, and your girls. Wasn't I beautiful? Wasn't I fragrant and young? Look at me now.
Sing-song. I run just one of my daddy's shops from 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and he want me not to have a break. But when nobody in, I do the lock, 'cause up the stairs is my newly bride. We share in chapati, we share in the chutney, after we had made love like we rowing through Putney. When I return, with my pinny untied, the shoppers always point and cry, "Hey, Sing, where you been? Your lemons are limes, your bananas are plantain. This dirty little floor need a little bit of mop in the worst Indian shop on the whole Indian road." Above my head, high heel tap the ground, as my wife on the web is playing with the mouse. When she netting two cat on her sequel of a sight, she booked them for the meat at the cheese of her price. My bride, she effing at my mum in all the colours of Punjabi, then stumble like a drunk making fun at my daddy. My bride, tiny eyes of a gun, and the dummy of a teddy. My bride, she have a red crew cut, and she wear a tartan sari, a donkey jacket and some pumps on the squeak of the girls that are pinching my sweeties. When I return from the tickle of my bride, the shoppers always point and cry, "Hey, Singh, where you been? The milk is out of date, and the bread is always stale. The things you have on offer, you have never got in stock, in the worst Indian shop on the whole Indian road." Late in the midnight hour, when you shoppers are wrap up quiet, when the precinct is concrete cool, we come down whispering stairs and sit on my silver stool. From behind the chocolate bars, we stare past the half-price window signs at the beaches of the UK in the brighty moon. From the stool each night she say, "How much do you charge for that moon, baby?" From the stool each night I say, "Is half the cost of you, baby." From the stool each night she say, "How much does that come to, baby?" From the stool each night I say, "Is priceless, baby."
Brendon Gallacher. He was 7 and I was 6, my Brendon Gallacher. He was Irish and I was Scottish, my Brendon Gallacher. His father was in prison. He was a cat burglar. My father was a Communist Party full-time worker. He had 6 brothers and I had 1, my Brendon Gallacher. He would hold my hand and take me by the river, where we talk all about his family being poor. He'd get his mum out of Glasgow when he got older, a wee holiday, someplace nice, someplace far. I tell my mum about my Brendon Gallacher, how his mum drank and his daddy was a cat burglar. And she'd say, "Why not have him round to dinner?" No, I'd say. He's got big holes in his trousers. I like meeting him by the burn in the open air. Then, one day after we'd been friends 2 years, one day when it was pouring and I was indoors, my mum says to me, "I was talking to Mrs. Moyer, who lives next door to your Brendon Gallacher. Didn't you say his address was 24 Novar? She says there are no Gallachers at 24 Novar. There never have been any Gallachers next door." And he died then, my Brendon Gallacher, flat out on my bedroom floor, his spiky hair, his impish grin, his funny flapping ear. Oh, Brendon, oh, my Brendon Gallacher.
Give. Of all the public places, dear, to make a scene, I've chosen here. Of all the doorways in the world to choose to sleep, I've chosen yours. I'm on the street, under the stars. For coppers I can dance or sing. For silver, swallow swords, eat fire. For gold, escape from locks and chains. It's not as if I'm holding out for frankincense or myrrh, just change. You give me tea, that's big of you. I'm on my knees, I beg of you.
Les Grands Seigneurs by Dorothy Malloy. Men were my buttresses, my castellated towers, the bowers where I took my rest. The best and worst of times were men, the peacocks and the cockatoos, the nightingales, the strutting pink flamingos. Men were my dolphins, my performing seals, my sailing ships, the ballast in my hold. They were the rocking horses prancing down the promenade, the bandstand where the music played, my hurdy-gurdy monkey men. I was their queen. I sat enthroned before them, out of reach. We played at courtly love, the troubadour, the damsel and the peach. But after I was wedded, bedded, I became, yes, overnight, a toy, a plaything, little woman, wife, a bit of fluff. My husband clicked his fingers, called my bluff.
Ozymandias by Shelley. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. Ferrara. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder now. Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Will't please you sit and look at her? I said Fra Pandolf by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. But to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I, and seemed as they would ask me, if they durst, how such a glance came there. So, not the first are you to turn and ask thus. Sir, 'twas not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. Perhaps Fra Pandolf chanced to say, Her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half-flush that dies along her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whate'er she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Sir, 'twas all one. My favour at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the bough of cherries some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, the white mule she rode with round the terrace. All and each would draw from her alike the approving speech, or blush, at least. She thanked men, good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900-years-old name with anybody's gift. Who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling, even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say, just this or that in you disgusts me, here you miss or there exceed the mark. And if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, e'en then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whene'er I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile? This grew. I gave commands. Then all smiles stopped together. There she stands, as if alive. Will't please you rise? We'll meet the company below then. I repeat, the count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that no just pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed. though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting, is my object. Nay, we'll go together down, sir. Notice Neptune, though, taming a seahorse, thought a rarity, which Klaus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me.
The River God by Stevie Smith. I may be smelly and I may be old, rough in my pebbles, reedy in my pools, but where my fish float by I bless their swimming, and I like the people to bathe in me, especially women. But I can drown the fools who bathe too close to the weir, contrary to rules, and they take a long time drowning, as I throw them up now and then in the spirit of clowning. Hi-yi, yippity-yap, merrily I flow. Oh, I may be an old foul river, but I have plenty of go. Once there was a lady who was too bold. She bathed in me by the tall black cliff where the water runs cold. So I brought her down here to be my beautiful dear. Oh, will she stay with me? Will she stay, this beautiful lady, or will she go away? She lies in my beautiful deep river bed, with many a weed to hold her and many a waving reed. Oh, who would guess what a beautiful white face lies there, waiting for me to smooth and wash away the fear she looks at me with? Hi-yi, do not let her go. There is no one on earth who does not forget her now. They say I am a foolish, old, smelly river, but they do not know of my wide, original bed, where the lady waits, with her golden, sleepy head. If she wishes to go, I will not forgive her.
The Hunchback in the Park by Dylan Thomas. The hunchback in the park, a solitary mister, propped between trees and water, from the opening of the garden lock that lets the trees and water enter until the Sunday sombre bell at dark. Eating bread from a newspaper, drinking water from the chained cup that the children filled with gravel in the fountain basin where I sailed my ship, slept at night in a dog kennel, but nobody chained him up. Like the park birds, he came early, like the water he sat down, and "Mister," they called, "Hey, mister," the truant boys from the town, running when he had heard them clearly, on out of sound. Past lake and rockery, laughing when he shook his paper, hunchbacked in mockery, through the loud zoo of the willow groves, dodging the park keeper with his stick that picked up leaves. And the old dog sleeper, alone between nurses and swans, while the boys among willows made the tigers jump out of their eyes to roar on the rockery stones, and the groves were blue with sailors made all day until bell time. A woman figure without fault, straight as a young elm, straight and tall from his crooked bones, that she might stand in the night after the locks and chains, all night in the unmade park, after the railings and shrubberies, the birds, the grass, the trees, the lake, and the wild boys, innocent as strawberries, had followed the hunchback to his kennel in the dark.
The Ruined Maid by Thomas Hardy. Oh, Melia, my dear, this does everything crown. Who could have supposed I should meet you in town? And whence such fair garments, such prosperity? Oh, didn't you know I'd been ruined? Said she. You left us in tatters, without shoes or socks, tired of digging potatoes and spudding up docks. And now you've gay bracelets and bright feathers 3. Yes, that's how we dress when we're ruined, said she. At home in the barton you said thee and thou, and thickoon and theesoon and t'other, but now you're talking quite fitsy for high company. Some polish is gained with one's ruin, said she. Your hands were like paws then, your face blue and bleak, but now I'm bewitched by your delicate cheek, and your little gloves fit as on any lady. We never do work when we're ruined, said she. You used to call home life a hag-ridden dream, and you'd sigh and you'd sock, but at present you seem to know not of megrims or melancholy. True, one's pretty lively when ruined, said she. I wish I had feathers, a fine sweeping gown, and a delicate face, and could strut about town. My dear, a raw country girl, such as you be, cannot quite expect that. You ain't ruined, said she. Case History, Alison, Head Injury, by UA Fanthorpe. She looks at her photograph. I would like to have known my husband's wife, my mother's only daughter. A bright girl she was. Enmeshed in comforting fat, I wonder at her delicate angles. Her autocratic knee, like a Agard dancer's, adjusts to the observer with airy poise, that now lugs me upstairs hardly. Her face, broken by nothing sharper than smiles, holds in its smiles what I have forgotten. She knows my father's dead, and grieves for it, and smiles. She has digested mourning, her smile shows it. I, who need reminding every morning, shall never get over what I do not remember. Consistency matters. I should like to keep faith with her lack of faith, but forget her reasons. Proud of this younger self, I assert her achievements, her A-levels, her job with a future. Poor clever girl. I know, for all my damaged brain, something she doesn't. I am her future. A bright girl she was.
On a Portrait of a Deaf Man, by John Betjeman. The kind old face, the egg-shaped head, the tie discreetly loud, the loosely fitting shooting clothes, a closely fitting shroud. He liked old city dining rooms, potatoes in their skin, but now his mouth is wide to let the London clay come in. He took me on long silent walks in country lanes when young. He knew the names of every bird, but not the song it sung. And when he could not hear me speak, he smiled and looked so wise that now I do not like to think of maggots in his eyes. He liked the rain-washed Cornish air and smell of ploughed-up soil. He liked a landscape big and bare, and painted it in oil. But least of all he liked that place which hangs on Highgate Hill, of soaked Carrara-covered earth for Londoners to fill. He would have liked to say goodbye, shake hands with many friends. In Highgate now his finger bones stick through his finger ends. You, God, who treat him thus and thus, say, save his soul and pray. You ask me to believe you, and I only see decay.